There we go, Carol. And wait for them to come on. Hello.
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 Hi, Ingrid.
Hi.
Hi, Katie. Hi,
Hello.
Judy.
I'm here.
Hi, Judy.
I don't know why my picture doesn't show.
Is your camera on? Is your
Yeah.
camera unplugged?
I'm on my iPad.
If your name shows up,
Yeah.
it means the camera's not plugged in or not on.
Oh, here, start video. Is that what I want?
Start video. Mhm. If it's black, it means the little window screen is closed.
How's that? There you go.
There
Now
we
I'm on my iPad, which is different from a computer.
And oh, that's for sure. That's for sure.
It's great to see all of you. We have some exciting finds today that we are kind of little exploration. So I think you'll be interested.
Oh, good.
Did everybody have a nice week?
Yes. Thank you for my gift. It came.
Oh,
I got
good.
it yesterday.
Good,
Yes.
good. I used mine this week. That same, mine are leaves. But I used it to be able to see what I did with it.
Okay.
I still have half of them, I think, that I can use. So I was real excited about those when I saw them. They're little paper stencils. Here, let me see if I can find one. So everybody who's sitting there saying, what's she talking about?
I'm wondering if you can put something on them to make them waterproof so that you could use them more than once.
If you don't use them on wet cyanotype, you'll be okay.
That's true.
What you can do is just laminate them.
A
But you have to use
medium?
that might work. Mhm.
That's what I was thinking, that medium. Yeah.
These are just
The other-
paper.
The other
That's
thing
great.
that works is this spray, like a clear
Acrylic
matte
spray.
acrylic spray will work. It
Right.
might discolor your paper, but it will work.
It'll still work as a mask.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like light, it depends on what you want to do with it afterwards. But also like acrylic paint. It's anything that
Yeah.
would make a barrier.
Right.
And even with the laminating, like what is that called? It's like shelf paper that's contact paper. You can use that, put it on both sides, press it down, tape. The reason why is any clear tape will allow unless there is some UV issue, it will not let the UV light through. I mean, it will let the UV light through. So unless the tape or something you've used says otherwise, my experience has been I've used Scotch tape to tape things down, and I've had no problem at all. You don't even see the edge of it.
Wow.
Cool. On the thicker stuff, you might see it, but on the thin, like the packing tape, if I have something small that I want to laminate, I just use packing tape.
So you don't need to bother to cut out. No, you don't need to bother to cut out those inside parts.
Right. Yeah.
And I would just cut like a thin line around it or right to the edge, whatever you like to do. Does anybody have any questions or things that we've got a lot to show you.
A little show and tell if you would like. You guys have anything? Because we've been real excited about this.
So do you want to get started?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do our normal, hello, Sarah. We're going to do our normal kind of flipping back and forth between pictures because Carol, I can't handle the moving things on the screen. and talking to you. Okay, Carol, that we already did that one.
Okay, let me get it in the present mode.
Okay. Okay. As usual, we're not very good.
That's okay.
So we're preparing paper and fabric for cyanotype printing with chemicals. So some
And
of
other
these,
things.
yeah, and we got some surprises for you.
Ooh.
So one of the things that I would say is the pre-prepared paper on some of these will give you this same effect. So we'll get into that in just a minute. Go ahead. Are you going to do the next two?
Sure, sure. And if you need the prepared paper, it's at Art Crossing Studio at Etsy.com. We will have the chemical kits in a couple weeks. They haven't come yet. We're waiting for them. I think that's it. So.
Okay. And you had talked about, Margaret had talked about, let's say you have kind of a dud picture that didn't turn out. As you can see on the left, it didn't expose exactly. I mean, I could take colored pencils or watercolor or paint and paint over this, but what could I do? Can I reuse it? And what's the answer, Margaret?
The answer is yes. So on the left is the original picture that she had that was just, it was underexposed. It had more to do with the negative being an issue than the actually the way it was developed. So what she did on the right, and I'm going to walk you through this. So this picture is on the bottom. She then takes, I call it slippy slappy. So those big blue stripies that you see on the edge is where she took the cyanotype liquid, the chemicals, and spread it on there, and then put a stencil on top of it. Let's see. Hey, Carol, do you want to show them the stencil there?
Okay.
All right.
So here's a part where I just took a paintbrush and I didn't even do it really that good.
Wait a minute, Carol. Are you seeing all 6 of us on there or the spotlight of her?
It was a spotlight of her.
Give them the spotlight for, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Carol. I'll be quiet.
Okay. So if you can imagine at this point, the paper has that light green color that you've seen before on here. And then I let it dry. I'm very impatient, so I will say if it's a little damp, it still works. I laid the stencil that I got from Hobby Lobby. It is just a flimsy stencil. Laid it down, put the glass on top and exposed it to the light. I rinsed it off and that's what I got. So there's no reason that you can't give it a try. And if I wanted, okay, so I only did one side. Let's say I'd like to make something out of this, but I want it two-sided so that it could be like a page in a book or something.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to show you this little flag book. So let's say I want to use this for a flag book, but I didn't do the other side. So I could just take either paint it or paint the whole page with the chemicals. This paper is, I think this was the 100-pound pre-printed paper that didn't work out well. So I'm able, there's no reason on this side that I can't put more chemicals on it. And even if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to just do something wild and take the chemicals and just splatter it on there. Don't do anything else but splatter it. And then I'll paint it and put another stencil or something on the other, or leaves on the other side. Expose on one side and then expose on the other, rinse it off, and that's what you get. So it's really fabulous.
Wherever the sunlight hits turns blue.
So
that's what happens there.
so
So
me
yeah, start sharing. Go ahead, the next one.
So these are watercolor papers. And I tried to group it into different types of papers. And the reason why I'm showing you this is, one, to show you the effects, and then that way you've got an idea of what you want to do. So our first one is on the upper left-hand side. It's like kind of a light, medium, and dark blue.
Mhm.
And that was done. These are specialty papers that come from, I'm not sure where, but I'm thinking they're like rice paper or something.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened with this is I laid it down. I took my chemicals, because this is so thin, you've got to be really careful with it.
Yeah.
This will disintegrate. That's the one thing with people that say about recycling. One great thing about recycling paper is paper will, like, very short period of time will disintegrate and turn into very small fibers. So I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I'm thinking it's like a rice paper. So I laid it down. I took my chemicals and brushed them on. And then I noticed, because this was not me being a genius or anything, but while I was sitting there, I lifted it up and I said, my goodness, look at that really neat effect. So as I lifted this up, there was this green, that light green color. So I noticed that, like, in this
Went
spot
through.
wasn't enough. So I put a little more paint there, or chemicals. And then I gently lifted it up to make sure everything was covered the way I wanted. And then I just left it. I then let it dry. You can put a piece of glass. I don't think it made any difference. I just put it out in the light, exposed it for about 5 to 7 minutes, rinsed it off, and that's what I got.
Very cool. So it's soaked through the rice paper?
Mhm.
Yes.
Cool.
You
So
can actually use it like a printing, like you're printing, where you put it on, and wherever it touches, or the chemicals touch, and if you expose them, it'll turn from blue.
So this is what it actually looked like. So
Carol, can you put something so it kind of comes in focus? There we go. Good.
okay, so this is the same paper, except this is the actual one that I painted. So now I've got 2 cyanotype prints, right? So
Carol?
Yes.
Just stop. Put that down again. You'll notice that the string didn't absorb the
It stayed
cyanotype.
white.
So it's a nylon product.
Oh.
So it doesn't, it has to absorb into the fibers. So
Gotcha.
it didn't. So that's interesting. That's another piece of this. Go ahead,
But that
Carol. I'm
also
sorry.
makes it look really cool. I mean, I like that.
It sure does. It sure does.
So this one was easy, because while I was painting the chemicals on, I just gently lifted it up like this and was able not to disturb this too much, let it dry, and expose it. But now how do I not only expose it, but then I just rinse it off and no problem. This is 300-pound Arches paper, and I'll probably put something on the other side later on. But this is beautiful. You could use this for very small book covers and things like that. You could also, if you use colored pencils, watercolor, it would take it beautifully. And remember, once it's exposed to the water, it's permanent. There isn't,
Okay.
it's not going to move. So if I want to put some color in this, it will be no big deal. Okay, now with this paper, this is really touchy. When you put it in the, Margaret can show you, we got a white tray we put it in. Okay.
Now here's me.
Luckily,
Wait a minute.
luckily,
Do you want me to show them or not?
let me tell
Okay.
them one thing. So
Okay.
I started with, I do it over my sink. And with like the 300-pound paper, it's no big deal having the water running on it. This paper, there is a problem. So actually I had a spot right in this area that started to tear. And luckily I've taken paper making before. And the neat thing about paper is if you can stop, so the water was hitting this, breaking up the fiber. So I stopped the water. I gently drained out the excess water, and then I pressed it a little bit to get those fibers back. You'll notice like up here, this part actually just like disintegrated off. So the trick to this is use a tray. I'm going to show them,
Okay.
Margaret.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so it's just a thin acrylic tray, nothing too exotic. And then this is handmade papers. Handmade papers don't have the sizing or the glue that keeps them together, like, or and they aren't pressed as I have so much pressure to keep them together. So the fibers, when exposed to water, they'll tend to separate a little bit or a lot, depending on what you got. So what Carol did, and this is what we do with the soft papers, is you pour the water not on the paper directly, but on the edge, and maybe like a cup or two, very little, and then just gently tilt it back and forth and let the water go over it. And that's to rinse the chemicals out, and then you tilt it and don't touch the paper, it will tear it. But you just tilt it a little bit and get rid of it, and then just pour the water in like if it shifts over a little bit, you kind of gently get it back to it so it's nice and flat. Pour a little more water in, tilt it, and do it a couple times like that. There'll be more water in this probably on the bottom. And once you get it clear, the water runs clear so the chemicals are gone, you leave it in here to dry. If it dries in there, it'll become the same paper it was before. You're not rinsing out much of the sizing. It just it kind of loosens it, and then it's like Elmer's glue. You put a little Elmer's glue and get it soft again. But if you leave it alone, it'll harden back up. Same thing with the sizing. And you just want to leave it in there overnight. Then you can pull it out and it's nice and ready to use.
Okay.
And then if it's tearing a little, like Carol said, just press on it and it'll come back. Carol,
So
are you there? I can't see you.
So once you see if that paper looks like it's starting to disintegrate, just stop what you're doing and let it gently pour the water out and let it dry. So the next one that I have here is the one in the lower left. So I'd done that same technique. It was a different circle paper, same paper. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me, but same paper. I mean, same type of paper. But I ended up getting a big puddle of the cyanotype liquid here. So I just let it because I thought, wow, that looks really neat. So then I let it dry, and then I put these two pieces, they're
Weeds.
They're all I have in my garden is weeds. So some kind of really interesting weeds. So I put that, so the chemicals are dry. I put the two weeds on top, piece of glass, and then a board underneath. And then I exposed it to the sun. And about 5 to 7 minutes. This paper is the Arches 140 paper. And again, I'll probably, because this is so nice, I'll probably put something on the other side. This one was interesting. So I had put the chemicals down first. And then I use that blue, wait a minute. I use this on top and I did about, I'm going to say more in the 7-minute size. And I don't know whether it was just because that it had a little bit of color on it. I'm not sure, or it could have been the paper, but it ended up with this really interesting kind of feathering due to the what's on the paper. So a lot of these things you may not be able to, like, I don't know if I'll be able to reproduce this a second time. You know, these are one of those things with this is that it just must have been the right time. The other side, this is
Sleeves.
this is Canson. I really like this. This is inexpensive Canson watercolor paper that you can buy at most stores like Michael's or the art stores.
The watercolor or XL?
It's
Or
X.
the, I mean,
X-
or the multimedia.
Multimedia.
No. It's XL watercolor. So it's kind of stiff. It would make a nice little for a small book, a cover. I wanted to show you how nicely. So with this one, this side, I painted it as if you're painting a wall. So I took the chemicals and painted down, straight down. And as you can see, it gives a really nice, even, that's because of the watercolor paper. It gives like a really nice, even look to it. And then I just put dried leaves on top and expose the paper. So anybody have any questions? Again, I did this one first, let it dry, and then the next day I did this side. But I could do both of them on the same day. So I could have exposed it if I painted it with the chemicals on both sides, let it dry, and then put the paper on one side, expose it, flip it over, put the leaves on the other side, expose it, and then rinse it. You could do it that way also.
Then process it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Do you have
that
anything else in that bag of tricks there?
oh, wait a minute. The two in the center I cut up for today's book, but I wanted to show you that I had taken in the two in the center, the top and the bottom. Those are,
Well, they can't see them, but we'll show them in a minute. But go ahead. What do you have a sample of it, or tell us what you did?
yeah, hang on.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not trying to stress you out here. Sorry.
no, I try to be really organized, but it just went.
Do you want to share the screen then again?
Hang on, I got one. I can show it.
Okay.
So these I've cut up, but I did want to show you, and I'll show you at the end. This is these lines are a specialty paper. I did the same thing I had done before. So the first layer was this is Canson mixed media 90-pound paper. So it's kind of it's a nice weight paper, particularly for pages. So I laid the rice paper, the fancy paper down first, painted it, pulled it up, and then when I went to expose it, this first layer was already dry. And then I exposed it with the other paper on top. And I also, because it didn't print evenly, I then took the paint and then just moved it around because there was kind of a big puddle. So this was the first layer, and then the first layer of chemical, and then this is the paper on top that's essentially the stencil. And then the same thing with these lines and this were the first level, and that the chemicals, and then this was the stencil.
Got it.
If I could get somebody to videotape me while I'm doing it, I have a hard time.
Well, you
Okay,
have
are you
somebody there this week. I'm ready. Go ahead and
Okay.
share the screen,
all right?
and you
So
can
that
show 'em
get
there. Point out the pictures right there.
so
There
so on this side, I just took on the top center, I took my chemicals and just like brushed them on with just you can use an inexpensive paintbrush, nothing fancy. And then I let it dry, and then I used the paper as a stencil. The bottom one, I used that rice paper, but as you can see in some spots there, it ended up puddling. It didn't give me a perfect print. So I let it dry, and then I used the paper as a stencil. So, so what so the point of this is that when you're using the chemicals, you want to think about the weight of the paper. The nicer the paper, if you want a nice, smooth, beautiful blue, like the upper right-hand side or the lower left, those are a little, those are higher quality paper. That's going to give you a really nice saturation of the chemicals into the paper. But again, you could always come back and use any kind of paints or anything on this, or re-wet it. It did not, you can do one side and then do the other.
How many
Not
times can you do that? How many times can you paint over and then re-expose?
Can I answer that one, Carol?
Sure.
Okay. It has to do with how dark your prints are. The lighter the print, the more times you can go over it. When you get that really dark areas of that indigo,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to reprint over those or re-expose over those.
Okay.
You a little bit will show, but not much. So for example, the one in the center, I think she's got she's got paper there. But the wherever the dark blue is, you wouldn't see much of a design. But can you go to that one more forward, Carol? Thank you. Stop right there.
Yeah.
The upper right is what I'm talking about. So the dark blue, it wouldn't print over, but you could come in and add the chemicals and put a stencil or a design or something there in those white spaces, and you would get a design in there that would show up.
Gotcha.
And then down at the bottom, whatever the lighter blues, the darker blue will print over the lighter blue. Okay, go ahead, Carol.
Thanks.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so our next category is kind of lightweight paper. So the one on the left is rice paper. The one in the next to it that has the leaves and like that little grid design,
Mhm.
that is tracing paper. And then these other two on the right-hand side are tea paper. So what I'm going to do is, can you still see my camera?
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm gonna-
this is the example. I had my little piece of paper. I was so excited because I liked the feel and look of the rice paper, right? So I get my water draining on this, and it just almost immediately ripped the paper. So I stopped, gently dumped it out, and I did the procedure Margaret had talked about. And I did try, like in this area, press it. And then I thought I got enough of the chemicals out. I'll just let it sit, and it dried and it peeled right up out of that white tray. So it was great. But I was able to save these little pieces, and they're not perfectly strong, but they're pretty good. You know, you could use them for gluing on top of things. But it was interesting of a try to at least try it out. I do like the translucency of the paper and the feel of it. The next one is just inexpensive. You go to the store and buy the tracing paper. And then what I used was, this is a back
Onion bag.
of an orange bag. So I laid my, I think I laid this down first. So what I did is, as you can see here, this is unevenly painted. So I just, painted the chemicals on, let them dry. I put the netting down first, and then I put the leaves on top. Okay, so the key with this, if you notice, the next one also has the same plastic stuff. It didn't matter if you put the leaves down first and the netting on top, or the netting down first and leaves on top. It made no difference. So I kind of liked the effect of this. It gave a nice, interesting look to the background. It kind of broke, like from what I'm seeing in the camera, it's still a kind of a dark blue, but it broke up the background a little bit. And it's, this one I didn't have any problem with it tearing apart or anything, but it does have a little bit of, it's not smooth like your normal, what you'd have the tracing paper, but very interesting texture. And it's pretty translucent. You can
Nice for fly papers on each side.
Yes. That would be great. The next two are tea paper, and they're actually, it's called tea bag paper. And they're a little difficult to get. I think there's somebody in Canada. I spent more money than I should have for this, but
I think they're on Amazon.
yeah,
I think
is,
But they're small on Amazon.
yeah,
are they?
yeah.
Yeah,
They're like only a couple inches. These are in sheets. So one sheet was about 2 of these together.
Did you get that on Etsy?
I think I got it on Etsy. I think the person was from Canada. So again, the same thing, as you can see down here, I just kind of, what do you call that? It's like, I just paint like this and that. Yeah. I let it dry, and then I laid the flowers down and then put the netting on top and exposed it for 5 to 7 minutes and then rinsed it out. They're kind of similar to the feeling of interfacing, and it's pretty sturdy. I think that if you were making like a box or a book cover, you could probably put a piece of white paper underneath and then put this on top. Or if you had something else that you wanted to, it is a little bit translucent. So maybe you could put something that had color underneath it.
Was she from United Kingdom by any chance?
Maybe.
Because it's the only one I'm finding.
This one is a second piece that was from a different company, and this is a little more like interfacing. So what it leads me to believe is you might be able to do this with interfacing. Now, whether it will take the
dye,
these aren't
chemicals.
100% yeah, I don't know, but I'll try that again and see if I can do that. So with this one, I used a stencil. I put the stencil down, and if you notice with the stencil, there's like a light blue here. And because the stencil was slightly translucent, it gave me like a very light blue.
Is that two-sided?
No, this is just one-sided. Because these are transparent or translucent, I mean. So it gave like a light blue, and then the leaves I put on top, put the glass on top and exposed it for about 5 to 7 minutes. So the leaves, it's hard to see this, but the leaves are white and the design is a light blue. But these are really nice. It's lightweight, but they're sturdy. So then I tried, I didn't put a picture of this. I was in a craze before sometime today.
That's surprising.
I can't stop. So I had a piece of 300-pound arches. So I decided I had this painted with the chemicals. And for some reason, it's a very fine rice paper with a lot of little threads in it. It's kind of in the same family as those other ones. So I guess because of my failure with the rice paper, I couldn't help myself for trying it again. So I put the chemicals on. I put chemicals. I just had this already painted with the chemicals. I laid this paper down, and then I put little flowers and leaves, exposed it for 5 to 7 minutes. And what happened was that these little tiny fibers actually kept the sun from coming through. So it's unbelievable. So I like the way that looked.
Oh, yeah.
We were back to the same problem with the water. And I was so excited. As you can see here, I have a hole. So I put too much water on, and then I decided I'd stop. And then I did the technique that Margaret talked about. I then poured all the water off, let it dry, and it popped right out. So I was able to have a really nice, now it's pretty sturdy. So I guess I shouldn't rip at it.
Would it be better to take a spray bottle of water and spray it rather than flooding it?
That kind of crossed my mind while I was doing that. I think that I'll try the spray bottle, because I do think that that would help. You know, those pages, let's say in the first part of the book, what did you call those, fly pages?
I call them fly pages. I don't know what the technical
I
term is.
mean, this is really beautiful, but I think the tea bag paper or the tracing paper would work just as well if you were doing something like that. Then on the other side, I had repainted this. I had already had this painted on both sides, just like as if you were painting a house. And it took to the paint really well. I put that netting down again and the leaves and exposed it 5 to 7 minutes. And now I got a two-sided.
Yeah, twofer.
I do like the smiley paper thing. Hey, Carol, why are you, and I'm just asking this question.
I don't.
Okay. Why are you putting the paper down and then painting it and then exposing it so it drips through?
So I can get those the upper left and the lower left. I want to get those designs. That's why I'm painting with the paper.
Okay.
I didn't.
I don't think I asked you that earlier.
And I thought this was kind of nice too. You know, you could use this.
That's
I wanted to see what it looked like. But again, this was really touchy on, I had to be very careful on rinsing this out. But I'm going to try Katie's idea of using a
I would spray it.
Yeah, I think that I'll use that one to try.
Okay.
Okay, so now there you go.
On to pre-printed papers. Okay, so the first one of the lemons and the first of the marbles are just those specialty papers. You can get them at the art store. Everybody has them. Gift shops have them. You know, these
Like
two
wrapping
exact.
paper?
Yeah, I think they call them wrapping paper. They're very expensive for wrapping paper. I'm just cheap. I just want to tell you on the wrapping paper.
It's that,
Um,
I think that Indian, what is that paper called? That Indian
Mulberry
paper?
Mulberry paper?
It's
Yeah.
like a Lakota or something, I believe.
Oh, Lacta.
Paddy.
Lacto. Yeah. So it's just if you get it at the art store, it's very inexpensive. You buy it at the specialty shops, it's ridiculous. But Carol and I, we were up in Michigan, and I just can't help myself when I see like this lemon print. It was too much for me. I loved it. And I'm always big on blue marble. So
We
There-
all understand how you
Oh,
can't resist things.
I
We
just
all
can't-
understand that.
quickly it jumps into my hand. So what Carol did is she printed she painted the paper, and then her stencil, she'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but her stencil is the bumblebee paper. So you can see where some of the chemical didn't quite, it exposed a little or whatever, because some of the lemons have a little bit of a blue cast to them in bits, just in places. And you can also see where the bumblebee, the paint didn't absorb. It absorbed most of it, but not all of the paint, not all of the chemicals. So it's a little bit lighter blue. So that one's pretty easy to see. On the marble paper, she used both of those circular papers and laid them on top of the marble paper. She, put the chemicals on the marble paper. So
Mhm.
that paint doesn't reconstitute, which is nice. You have to make sure that whatever painted object you're putting it down on, it doesn't come back up with water,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
with the liquids. So she let it dry and then exposed it. And that's where those round circles come from. And you can see, I don't know if it's the exact same paper, but the one that's exposed and she processed has that big marbly blue thing in there.
Yeah.
So if it's a really dark design, that's gonna stay there and go through. It's not gonna lighten up suddenly. So you're gonna see you're gonna see that design. And in person, you see the design of the original paper much more clearly than we can get photographed.
Oh, cool.
So it is beautiful. It is really quite beautiful paper
I
there.
wish you could remember where you got that circular paper.
Oh, that was at Michael's, and you're talking the thin like ricey paper with the threads in it.
Yeah.
That it's at Michael's, it's at the art store, it's all over the place. It's at the art store. I think Hobby Lobby has it sometimes. It's their specialty papers. You have to kind of go to the back of the store. It's in there. Sometimes they have them hidden around, but
I think, I don't know if you have a Plaza Art, usually against the wall, they have, or a specialty art
any art store, big art store, like
that
Dick's
sells.
has them. They all have the specialty art. The paper shops, if you have the stationery and paper shops,
And you're looking for this
that one.
type of
Mhm.
paper. Yeah.
It's where it is. It's in with this gift wrap paper. They call it gift wrap
So,
paper.
so you'll see, oh, and one thing I did want to tell you, as you can see here, this is you can
Wait a
see
minute,
where
wait a minute.
oh,
Go ahead.
you can see where the blue with the
Yeah.
cyanotype, and then the little bumblebees are there with the stencil. This stencil is a Hobby Lobby stencil, but it's sticky. I didn't realize that I just thought it was a plain stencil. And it gave a really nice print. The only thing that I would say is this one little spot, you can see like a little bit of discoloration. So when I painted the paper, it was all covered with the cyanotype. I laid the stencil on top, exposed it, and then rinsed it. Again, I'm a little concerned at this point because this is a thicker but handmade paper. So I was kind of gentle with it. I did not allow the water to go directly on it. But when I set it down, a number of these lemons still had like a little blue cast to them. And they actually faded. I have it's not really like when I scanned it, you can hardly see it, but it didn't look like it was going to work. But as the time went along, because the paper saturated and pretty porous, it ended up lightening up on me. So I didn't have to do anything. It just did that. So a lot of times what'll happen is, especially with those very strong blue and white pictures like this, what'll happen is you'll end up with like a little shadow kind of cast. I don't know what exactly it's from. There might be more chemicals in that area than other areas, you know, that it may have soaked up, but about 3/4 of the time it will disappear on you after you've rinsed it. If you're rinsing the paper well enough that the water's clear, you're usually in good shape for the for being able to have that problem go away. That there's like little stains or whatever. All right. There's no easy way to do this. I want you to be able to see this. So these are the pre-printed fabrics.
You want me to go on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what Carol and I do things a little bit different, but we're going to go Carol's way. What she does is she takes her piece of fabric and kind of cuts it to whatever size she wants, which is usually something for bookbinding. So it's not too large. She dips it in like a bowl and then pulls it out so it soaks it up and then lets it drip and back into the bowl, obviously, and then just lays it out on a tray or just somewhere to dry.
I like to put it on absorbent, either paper towels or an old towel or something like that.
And then so the first one with the bumblebees and the last one is the same fabric, actually. So the seashells, which is the last one, and the first one is it's tie-dye fabric. It's just a printed tie-dye fabric. And she put that same bee stencil on there. And then the seashells are, we'll go back, I'll show you what they look like in a minute. And then, so those are the tie-dye fabric. I personally really like the tie-dye fabric.
Yeah.
And then
Colorful.
you have seen, whoops. Oh, Carol, we have a surprise guest. Wait a minute. Hang on one second. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Where are you, Anna?
Hello.
Can you
Hi,
see-
Anna.
Hi.
This is my wonderful, beautiful niece that we cannot see.
Can you
So
put your camera on? Say hi to everybody.
Sure.
Anna is
Or
Margaret.
is it bad looking?
You look great, Anna.
Oh, thank you. Hi.
She's been working all day today. Oh, you're in the car. Look at you.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's all right. I'm gonna just leave you there if you want to stay and listen to the rest of it. That's
I would
great.
love- I
Okay.
would love
So don't look at us. Take your picture off. She's working on her master's degree in digital media or something. You don't need to respond, Anna. I'll just talk about you. So let's get back to the fabric. So the first pink fabric with the gear stencil Carol did, and I believe that one is like, it's kind of like a tie-dye, but it's all one. It's all in the pinks and it has spots of magenta in there. And she just did it exactly the same way, dipped it. Depending on your fabric, it can be two-sided. If it's a little bit thicker, Carol, I'll get back to you in a second. You can actually expose both sides and then develop it. On the third one, which is
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I'm very impatient. So I soaked my fabric. It was damp because I couldn't wait because I wanted to see how it looked. I put the gear stencil on, which was fine. and it's plastic, so I didn't have any problem of any of the chemicals got on it. It was pretty damp. And I wanted to see if it would take. I put it out in the sunlight, but I really didn't leave it long enough to take. So this probably only had 2 or 3 minute exposure. If I, even with it wet, if I had exposed it for a longer period of time, it would have worked out beautiful.
Hey, Carol, can you turn that over? So you didn't do anything. She didn't have, and she didn't put a stencil or anything on the back. So that's what you'll see through if you don't, it'll have a slight, showing from the front to the back. All right, Carol.
Yeah.
You want-
Can I ask, when you say
Sure.
you wet it, are you talking water or the chemicals?
The chemical. So I had put the
Okay.
chemicals on, put it in a bowl,
Okay,
squeezed it out.
okay,
I put a towel down, and then I laid the fabric, and then I put a paper towel on top, patted it dry, and I probably waited a couple of minutes. So it was still damp when I
okay.
put the things on. I mean, put the gear stencil on. So
Thank you.
But we really should wait for it to dry, right?
in theory,
Yes.
it would be better to wait for
Okay.
it to
Just
dry.
checking.
Yeah.
A little more patience all the way through. If she had taken this whole process and rather having it less than 10 minutes, made it less than 20, it would have made a big difference.
Well, you can see the difference with the next one that
This one's
Margaret's
nice.
going to show you.
You want to go back to that, or you want to
It's
just
the
start
rose
here?
one. It's
And
the
Then just talk to him about it, and then we'll go to the next slide. Or-
okay. So the next one is rose print, and again the same thing. Dipped this in, squeezed it out, but I did let it dry. I put my dried flowers on, but what's so pretty is it really picked up the detail of the flowers, and even the little curlicues, which are really hard to see.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it picked up little tiny curlicues, and you can see the pink rose fabric. So just to sum this one up, is that when you're printing on the pre-printed fabric, you want to think about, like this is tone on tone. This was like a water print paper, water print fabric. And then this one was the same rose pattern as the one I just showed you. And this one, this and this are the same fabric. It all depends on kind of what the look you want. And so just keep in mind of how dark. I wouldn't go any darker than this, like blue fabric, like a medium. So when you squint at it, that it's kind of like a medium tone, because otherwise I think that it'll end up
You didn't have as much contrast.
yeah, you won't notice the design.
Yeah.
Okay, Margaret,
So what are those shells?
Here
go
we go.
ahead with it.
Can you see me? The
Mhm.
shell
No,
slices.
Oh, right.
And I think I typed in Amazon slice shells. Actually. What I was looking for are those Nautilus shells, which I don't know why they used to be very popular. You know, those thin Nautilus, they have all sorts of them. I think that's all of them. And I have some other stuff. And then this is those brown and white ones. But what you're looking for is kind of the shape of it. You know, what is kind of what the shape of it is. And the negative space in between, because that's what's going to give you the interest on these. So the ones that you're seeing, which is interesting to look at in person, but this will leave a big white space. And then the same shell, but a little bit farther in has those large loopies.
Yeah.
Right here. This is what I'm talking about. So it's a little bit less white space is what it'll end up being. I happen to like them. I thought they were a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Okay, do you want me to?
We're ready for the
reshare?
next one. Yeah, reshare. We're doing
We pretty
Yeah.
much, the one in the center has no, it's just basic white fabric that was printed with dried materials I got at Hobby Lobby. And again, I showed you these two. Just keep in mind on how dark the background is and what contrast level you want. So now we're going into kind of like specialty things.
Wow.
This is
freewheeling on this.
a leather. I got it for $2 and for three little this piece and then two other small pieces.
Wait a minute. Are you? Wait a minute. There we go. Go ahead. Re-show to him.
Okay, so this is a piece of leather. Now the only thing is, I'm contemplating repainting over this because what I did is I just brushed it on, and one is I should expose it for a longer period of time. I think because the chemicals go into the kind of the texture, I think it needs more time.
It might need 2 layers of chemicals too.
Yes. And then this is called parchment paper. It's essentially leather, but so I laid the stencil down on the piece, and the piece was, this is like part of the animal, so, and it's smooth. It's probably about the weight of maybe 100-pound paper. So I could actually use ink on this because it's permanent, and I don't have to worry about it. I could draw on this with ink. I could paint on it. I could do pretty much anything. The neat thing I think is great is, see this little circle design? That is the shell on the other side.
Oh, cool.
That the parchment, they call it parchment paper, is very translucent.
So it is calf skin that they do to a fine. This is probably like about 110-pound weight to it, but it does beautiful. Like if I wanted to draw or paint on this, I could use watercolor paint, anything. Normally, when you see this like yellowing here, that means that you didn't get enough of the chemicals out. It should go to white, but
it's a green calf.
It's like a greenish, it looks very similar to the chemicals when they dry. I tried for about a half an hour of spraying this and was unable to get it out. So it may be just part of the process with the parchment paper. And then
Is that real stiff, that paper?
yeah.
Yeah.
They
Very
have,
flexible though.
yeah.
Right.
They have some, it would make a okay cover. They have some of this that is as fine as a sheet of paper, you know, that it's very fine. They used to use this in medieval time for instead of paper.
Covers.
And then the last thing I tried, I painted this on, I have a friend that's an artist, so she gives me quite a bit of mat board. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. So I put it down, and this is where there was too much chemical that's just sat. And this one, I brushed it, and then I put the plants on top, and this was actually one whole piece.
Mhm.
The problem with it is you can't put it in a tray. You really should take a cup, like a measuring cup, and then pour. I think your Katie, your spray idea is fantastic. I was able to catch it. The mat board started peeling up on the edges, and I cut those off. And it ended up turning out all right. And I see some possibilities where I can come back and put some drawing or paint in those areas. but it's a little tricky to do the mat board.
So if this is mat board that hasn't been treated in any way, shape, or form, right?
Yes,
Until you
it
put
was
the
just.
chemical. What if you did like a gesso on it
I
first?
think if I did a gesso, it would probably help. You still wouldn't want to put it in the water unless, I guess,
No,
unless
but it would help with the, it would be less absorbent then, right?
it would be less absorbent and it would probably not peel up as quickly.
Right.
So because I had had my experience with the rice paper and those other papers, once I saw that happening, I said, it's good enough. You know, I've got it. If this was another type of paper, this dark blue, probably I could have rinsed out, but it's permanent now. I'm good. You know, I'm happy that it worked.
May I
Yes.
say a tip that I learned from printmaking? This is Anna. This is Margaret's daughter. So one of the tools that I use in printmaking, especially in paper lithography, is shellac. You could always shellac the back of something.
That's interesting.
Papers, it's kind of like, for lack of better words, it's beetle juice. It's derived from the beetle, and you can get like a hard tack, kind of like hard backing on, and it's waterproof,
Wow.
and it could be your mat board.
You'll have to try.
So shellac. I learned something new today, Anna. Fabulous.
Shellac,
We all
It's-
did.
it's a little hard to get a hold of. It's either, you know, your Home Depot either has it or it doesn't. It's a little bit of a challenge to get it. Because if you've got any woodworkers in the area, they're grabbing it up.
Okay.
Okay, Carol.
There's
Let's
always
go.
Amazon.
There is.
Oh, Amazon, yeah.
Oh, now we're getting to fun stuff.
Beautiful.
Okay, the shells on the left are those Caspis shells. I think that's the right pronunciation. And they worked out beautifully. Carol, do you want to talk about what you did to these things to get them to turn out so nicely?
So what I did is I just painted the front and back with the chemical.
Wait a minute. Now start.
I painted these are what the shells look like. I
Oh,
painted the
yeah.
front and the back. And they actually did much better. They really did much better than I thought they would. So what I did is I did let them dry. It was very hard. I put the dried plant on top and then took saran wrap and wrapped it around.
Good
And
idea.
then the same thing on this one. I just took the leaves. So this one was also like a weedy looking thing. And it's hard to see it. So I have a big white spot here because the way the weed came out like this, and there's some a little bit of the roots of it. So that actually blocked quite a bit of the light. So I'm wondering, I have some seaweed that I had gotten. So I thought maybe some seaweed would be nice because it's not quite so fine as this.
Yeah.
And then this one, because there was a imperfection in the shell, here are these are really hard to see like this, but there's an imperfection in the shell, so the print didn't turn out just right, but it's still very pretty.
Beautiful. What a great idea.
And the same thing with the scallop shells, I just painted them and then let them dry. And then I put the seaweed on top and then wrapped them. The one that I made the book out of, it just didn't, you know how like some things just don't go well.
Do you have that little book or no?
It's about 10 feet away.
Okay. I'll just put it on the screen. One of the things we found out with the shells is they're a little bit of a wild card. the Caspa shells seem to absorb the cyanotype fluids better. Sometimes on the scallop shells, they're still a little shiny. And wherever it's shiny, they're not going to absorb it as much as where it has more of a little bit of a matte surface to them. So, but I think they look beautiful. So, but you don't know exactly what they're going to turn out like.
And if you wash them ahead of time, that's always a good idea also. It'll get any debris or anything off of it. The shell that the book is made out of, the print didn't turn out, but I thought in the way I'm happy with the way it looks, it gave a nice design. All right. This is the handmade paper, pretty similar to what we had talked about before. So on the left, I use a handmade paper to do the big blobs of blue and those little lines. And then, so I painted over it. And then I use the circle paper as the stencil to expose to the sun. The one on the right is the one that I used to make the print off of. And it's actually pretty heavyweight paper, but you can see that there's like loose strings. So I had, this is still intact. I put flowers on top, put the glass on top of that. I put it in my tray to rinse it. Everything was going pretty well. And then I started noticing that the strings were coming up.
Ooh.
Again, with a little bit of knowledge about paper making, I stopped, I drained off the water, I pressed it down, and then I did a very light rinse. I am going to try the spray idea. But then I left this in the container into that tray and let it dry. So, and this is what the paper looks like before it starts.
It's really pretty paper.
Okay.
One of the other thoughts we had is use a screen as a basis, a small screen, and then don't move the paper off of it. Just kind of rinse it the best you can, and then let the screen
right. Let it dry on the screen.
let it dry on the screen.
Okay.
So
we had talked about we call it a one sheet wonder. And go ahead, Margaret, and you can talk about this.
why don't you put it up on the screen? Hello, can you share your screen?
Yep. Hang on.
I don't know what you're doing over there, so. I'm in Northern Maryland, she's in Southern Maryland. Okay, so this actually, it's more than one piece. Mine was two. Mine's actually a little more than two.
It's actually 3 sheets, but each component is 1 sheet.
Each component. So you have 3 components. The front and the back cover, the center long ones. I'm looking at the left one, the center long ones. And then the spine, which is actually a modified accordion. I'm going to use that term. You'll see why. It's kind of a meandering book. It's a little accordion. It's also a little bit of a zine, all mixed together to make this accordion structure in the back. Do you want to hit the video in the middle? There we go. So you can see this little thing. And what I have is on the mountain folds, I either have a cyanotype piece of paper that has the leaves on it, or I have the little paper stencils in between that I used.
Oh, I see.
So on the right-hand side, I used blueprint paper, and that's where it looks like a leopard print in the middle. So the accordion structure part is made from thin, copy paper, basically, weight. The boards are about 90 pounds, wouldn't you say that's about what the weight of that watercolor paper is, Carol?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably 140.
One-
More,
maybe. It's not very heavy. It's stiff. It's a little thinner than a cover stock paper. Just again, just put the cyanotype liquid on, figure out your orientation. Because mine are quarter, the ones that flip, the dark, like the dark blue paper at the bottom there we go. That is a quarter sheet. It's a little bit smaller than a quarter sheet because I trimmed up the book. So the 4 center ones are 1 sheet. The cover, I actually have a couple extra pieces, but the cover is a 2nd sheet, and then the accordion structure in the middle is the 3rd sheet. And then I added the little paper stencils. Okay, Carol, do you want to show them what you got there? Oh, okay.
so I have these 3 on PDFs. So the first one is where the dotted lines are fold lines, and you just cut down the center. That's the 1 sheet. That is for the spine of the book. Then I had measured it because of those pre-treated papers we have are 8 by 10. So you can actually just cut it in half and cut it in half again. And then this would make your flag part or pages of the book. And then 4" by 5.5 these you could use matte board or other papers. You could use, book board. You could use whatever you wanted for the accordion. You want to switch? I can switch to the
Yeah, okay. Now, go ahead and talk, and it's all yours, Carol.
okay. So here is the instructions that you'll be getting. And you could actually print this out. I printed it out on a little bit lighter gray, but if you wanted to practice in bookmaking, it's always a really good idea to practice. So you could
Okay.
just practice, print it out on a piece of just typing paper. You cut around, the straight line is the cut. You then fold the paper in half and then open it up, fold the paper in half again, and then come back, fold the paper in half, and then half again each one. But you can, if you just fold it along the line, that would be great. Then I took a pair of scissors and cut it. And this is the most amazing thing. So here is, it's already scored. So this paper for the spine could be this is like a cardstock weight. So what this is going to do is give you your accordion. So you don't need a really long piece of paper. All you need is an 8.5 by 11. And then you just start folding the paper back and forth.
Did you tell him you put that through your Cricut?
No,
She did. She put it through the Cricut. It's perfect.
I designed it to go on the Cricut, and it makes beautiful.
And am I correct? You use the same thing that you're giving them. It just took you a bit to finagle it.
Yes. They get the same
Same
one.
mold, same stuff.
So what we would do is, now I have the accordion. I glue this center piece. Now Margaret did hers a little bit different. So you could just leave it like this and then start adding the pages. Or you can, on mine, what I did is I skipped, here's the center, I glued, and that has to be glued or it'll come apart. Then I glued the next one and the next one on the other side. So I took my paper that was a sunprint or the cyanotype paper. I cut it into 4. And then what I will do is leave this as a tab, how Margaret had put her stencil here. And then I'll just set this in, put the glue here, glue it, put the glue, and then I'm going to skip one, put the glue on, and then skip one, and then put, this is only 4 pages, but I could actually have added more on. So now I have the book glued together, and I have, that's without the cover. Then I'll take those 2 pieces of, the mat board works really well for these small size books, even if you don't use the cyanotype paper. So all I would do is put the glue down this edge, this little tab, put the cover on, glue down this edge, put the front cover on. Make sure, I like making sure that before I put this together, I would make sure everything's, lined up. But if you just tap it and then secure it, it'll make a really beautiful book.
That's
And then
great.
you could add things in between here to make, you could add other paper or just make another sheet of this and put it in. So it makes a really beautiful book. It's 4 by 5 1/4 size. And I have it so that the measurements is that if you want to display it, the inside is not larger than or smaller than the outside, so it will sit very nicely as a piece if you wanted to, let's say, display it or something. So, all right.
Very nice.
Have any questions? Margaret will post those and I think send them to you.
I will.
Okay.
If you're on our contact on our website, if you haven't signed up, go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. If you have, you're going to get it. If not, you'll have to go to YouTube and pick it up. So, but
Okay.
the links will be there. So, any questions? You can, and then
Giveaway.
the giveaway, yeah. Hey. All right, Carol. Does anybody, Carol, why don't you take your picture off there a second? There.
Would you?
Good. Get to your camera so we see your face, please.
You don't want to see my face.
I do.
Yes, we do.
I do. Why, I'm picking the name, please. Dun, 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 dun.
So this is a nice little bag for any kind of tools. You could put makeup tools.
Oh, here. I'm sorry. Let me show it.
Come on, Vanna. A nice size.
Nice
Mhm.
size. Nice zip. It's pretty good size. Makes a lovely art bag.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Portable tool kit. I must have 100 of them. I love them. like putting them together anyway. Okay, Sarah. Dun, dun, dun. Sarah. Hooray, hooray.
Great.
Hooray. If you
Yay.
don't mind, Sarah, if you don't mind going to artcrossings.com and just email us your or just, it says contact us, just pop it in the your address in there and I'd be happy to send it to you.
Because I'm traveling, I could use it. I haven't finished. I should, at the beginning of the show and tell, I did this, but I did it a while back again.
Oh, let
I
me
did
see.
Wow.
But it's not pressed because I'm on the road right now traveling. But I
Oh,
did,
that's beautiful.
this was from a photograph, right? That
Uh-huh.
was from a photograph. And then the other side was I added the lace on it, fabric lace. So it actually is some sort of, I don't know, like, Madonna, exactly.
Yeah,
And then
that's
It's
gorgeous.
full.
Was it a photograph you took?
It was, somebody gave me the photograph and then they
Yes.
put it transfer. So it
Uh-huh.
was a transfer, and that was another step, a whole nother topic. I forget how to do it. The back,
Was
I
that
did-
pre-treated? Or did you put the chemicals on there?
yeah, it was pre-treated.
It's beautiful.
It
But
is-
the back, I added something on the back, I may ruin it, right? Because that was the big question. I thought, well, you
What,
just glue it to a board. You could,
what are
know
you
what I mean?
what were you thinking about putting on the back?
I don't know. I was thinking about it, and then I thought, should I do the back? And maybe I
I'd
will.
be afraid.
It
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
be,
me
yeah,
too.
maybe it might mess it up and will show through. That's what I was wondering about.
It
fabric.
will show through.
It will
will.
show through in the light areas.
Yeah,
It'll leave like a shadow there.
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just leave it alone and then glue it to a
Yeah.
board.
I think
Yeah.
there's so much going on. I wouldn't do the back.
Don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I
You
was
know
gonna
what
do
you, you know what you
interfacing,
could
put it-
do is
put
do a poem.
interfacing on this and then just leave it. Yeah.
You
Interface.
could use fabric pens if you wanted to
Hmm.
on the front, but
I like the
Oh,
cyanotype.
I think it's gorgeous the way it is. I think you should just leave it.
yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. But I was thinking we could do an interface and do another piece of fabric and then put that on the back.
That's true.
I
Okay.
could do two pieces of fabric, and so that way when you flip the book, you'd have, that might be interesting. Do interface, give us
there's-
stiffness.
It's called one of the products is called Wonder Under. So you put it on one side, iron it, and
Right.
then peel it off, and then you could do it on the other
Like
side.
another one, yeah.
So are you going to use the same size fabric?
I think so. I did several of this. It was a while. It was during COVID and I forgot how to do it. And I said, oh my God, I got to get back into this.
Slim back out.
Yeah, I'll do something this week. I've got fabric. I don't have any paper, but I do have fabric I can play with and see how that comes out. And then I'll
Yeah,
try that.
the Wonder Under has a couple different stiffnesses, and it could make a nice, if you're doing it as pages
Hmm.
or even the cover, it would be really pretty as that.
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna do embroidery on it. Oh no, I've got a lot of projects, but I think it would be interesting to do interfacing and see what would happen. Put a treatment on, like next time we meet, maybe
Yes, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
you would be interested. Yeah, I think that kind of something. I think the leather is interesting too because I've never done leather. I've done
That I wanted to.
paper and fabric, but I haven't tried a lot of stuff, and that would be kind of cool to
Yeah,
see.
we're still working on some other stuff. Like I don't know. Does anybody else have old photo paper? Like
Um,
piles of it. When you were printing pictures.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No.
That if you have it, don't throw it away yet. Okay, because you can
Mhm.
use that for cyanotyping. So as
Oh,
it
you
turns
can?
out. No, I didn't think so. I didn't think you could do that, but apparently I haven't tried it yet. So
You mean
Well,
like
if you think about it,
old negatives?
no,
No,
not
no.
negatives.
Oh,
Hang on
no,
one sec.
Yes, you could
The
use
way you would
old
print
negatives.
it.
You can use old negatives too, as just like you would a negative. No, what I'm
Mhm.
talking about is these things, where you
Yeah.
have plain white paper.
oh
and
yeah,
Oh, some of
side.
that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has it in the
Got that.
bottom drawer and they're like, I don't want to throw it out yet. It might be worth something. Anyway,
Right.
we all know it isn't, but anyway. But it can be used for the cyanotyping. And what I liked about it, I haven't decided quite what I want to do a series because there's a lot of the exact same size.
Mm.
So it's already
oh, is that the kind you put through the printer?
Yeah,
Oh, I do have some of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm telling you, everybody has it hiding somewhere in their desk. And you can put it on the glossy side, and I haven't tried it yet. And they have this stuff called it's okay, when they talk about wet cyanotype, and this is, I'm going off on a tangent here. It means that the chemicals are still wet when you put stuff on there, just like Carol did when it was a little damp and she put it on. You just have to leave it out in the sun longer. Not till it dries, but just longer until it changes color. But you can do that. They're having nice success with these little things. So so I thought, well, what the heck? My boss was moving and she said, look what I found. I know you can use this, she said. I'm like, I can.
I think we can always use paper of any kind.
Any kind of, I love paper. Paper's my favorite thing.
Yeah, that is good. Get
Great,
that
Carol. So if, oh my goodness, is it Sarah one? Is that right? Is that who I said?
Yeah, I'm trying to Google art crossing studio.
No,
What
it's
was
just
that?
artcrossings.com.
Oh, .com. Okay.
Yeah.
Put that in afterwards. I'm losing my my
And-
power.
It's right. That was me last night. Carol and I were talking and boom, I was gone.
Yeah.
When are you going to be able to get the chemicals in that we can order?
Hopefully within the next couple weeks, Judy. We're still we're waiting for them to be sent to us.
But you'll notify us, right?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty good on that. So but no, that would be great. But yes. And we're going to rework some of the, not rework, we're gonna also have a selection of just the different kinds of paper that you can choose from. So you don't have to have the multi-set, you can have just one kind. Like, let's say you want only colored paper, it'll be, so we're kind of working on those things the next couple weeks. Carol and I both have full-time jobs, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it. That's the way she feels about it. And I keep sitting there dreaming, saying, I really should quit. And I'm like, yeah, it's a big jump there with no cash. So, but other than that, but we'll get there eventually. But anyway.
And our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 27th, same time, same place. And hopefully by then, we'll have the chemicals, but whether we have them or not, we'll show you how to mix the chemicals and some tips and tricks about it. And
then whatever else we can find to throw it on.
yeah. And if
y'all had some beautiful pieces. Those are samples were just beautiful.
Oh, they're
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you. I think we had a lot of fun this week because this is where it starts getting to be a lot of fun on, what can I put it on? How will it turn out? What can I use it for? And then a little bit of kind of going back and taking some of the techniques and developing them a little better so they turn into something a little nicer. Not that our lovely books aren't just like totally crazy, but something a little more nice would be great. In the chat is all of our contact information. So if you want to copy and paste that over, I always know I appreciate that when someone does.
Very good.
Our website's on there, the YouTube's on there, and all of the stuff's going to go up on YouTube. The PDFs that Carol made, they're going to go on YouTube. Last week is going to go on YouTube. Carol and I got derailed in the last 2 weeks. The Etsy shop and our Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. We missing anything, Carol?
I don't think so.
I think I got it. You'll find us. We're not that hard to find.
I know where you live, though.
Yeah. I swear you could put it in Google and you could drive up to my house. So I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
from what you told me before, you're not far from my sister's house, so
Where is she?
Tacoma Park.
Oh,
yeah,
not-
yeah, she's right in
You're
between.
right
us.
in between us.
Yeah, about halfway. I'm about 40 minutes to Columbia, which is Tacoma Park's a little bit farther south, and then Carol's about an hour south. So
Yeah,
we're
I'm
only
not too
right-
far.
No, I don't know. So we're making that trip hopefully this week. The old fingernails need to be, she has the best nail person. So if you're ever in Maryland down there, just text me
I
and I'll
have
give you the
noticed
name.
her nails. I have noticed her
We
nails.
have,
They're beautiful.
I love Andy and Eric. They do a very good job. Andy does the nails and the fingernails, and then Eric does the pedicure. I want to tell you, I never had fingernails until when I'm 64. So 64. So this has been quite exciting for me to have real nails where people are saying, "Oh, they're pretty." I'm like, "What?" So,
I have
like a
one
girl.
warning for you. I have the same thing because I've had people critique. I had the same problem. I didn't have very long nails because I'm an art teacher, so I'm and I teach. I had been teaching elementary. Now I'm teaching high school, so my hands are in all kinds of things. But here's my tip. I hate wearing gloves, but put gloves on when you're doing the cyanotype, or the nails will at the bed of the nail, like
It's
right
the
at the cuticle, will turn blue.
cuticle and your hand
Oh.
will turn blue.
And
If you go outside with this, if you don't wash all the chemical off, you will definitely have it. It dyes everything except
it goes away, but it'll take about probably 12 hours and a little bit of scrubbing to get rid of it.
we should try tattooing ourselves.
Yeah, this could be a good look for
For
Halloween. You know?
Just
I'm
paint
not-
my and then put like a temporary tattoo, wrap it with
You can do
plastic
that.
wrap. Yeah, Anna can help me. I think she left.
Would the chemicals be too harsh on the skin?
Nope. As
No.
it turns out, they're non-toxic. I wouldn't drink them or anything, but because
No,
they
no.
are
They're
are-
essentially,
they're a
one
salt.
is Prussian blue, the
Ooh.
basis of Prussian blue, and I forget what the other one is, but they are they say they're eco-friendly and they are non-toxic. So, and they're permanent. So even on the fabric, the only key is the fabric will you have to have non-phosphorus
Detergent.
detergent to wash it.
Don't use anything oxy.
Yeah, no oxy.
no.
Well, it was a pleasure to have all of you come and join us this week, and we'll be looking forward to 2 weeks from now.
That'd be
No.
great. This
All
was
right.
wonderful tonight. Thank
And
you.
if you have any questions or have any ideas, we'd be happy to take them into consideration and add them into our little presentation.
And we'll
We're
do
trying-
that
the
if
spray.
you have anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna try the spray, Katie. And we've gone with this format. I really like this where we can chat and also see. I want to be able to show you guys, or Margaret and I want to be able to show you the best way to show the pictures of what these finished products look like. So this PowerPoint is at least one way we can do it.
And it keeps us on track, and if you want to call it that.
We're hard.
This
works
is
well.
on track as we
Following.
get.
So
So,
I
well,
did
thank
try-
you
I
so
have a
much.
well, thank you so
Tried-
much,
have
and we'll
any
see you in a
questions?
couple weeks.
Oh, I tried to get in the last time, but I was late, so I think I need to I mean, is there a thing where if I'm too late, I can't get in? Cause I could,
No, it's just, I probably just missed you, or we had already ended.
oh, maybe it's possible. I missed
So
it.
this one was an hour and a half, but the last one was right on the hour, and I think the one before was pretty close. But
Mm.
no, if I see you, because if I'm talking, I may not. I'm the one letting everybody in. So if I see people, I let them in.
Okay, I just wanted, some Zoom people will have like a 15-20 minute thing and then they say you can't come in just for, they don't want, okay. But I am on a different time zone, so I went to the West
No,
Coast.
it's okay. We call that the Mackie flip. We're both Mackies. It's like that. My mother would look at us and go,
Okay.
Go away. Just don't bother me on that one. She was so funny.
Thanks a lot.
Is there anywhere, whoops, sorry, is there anywhere we can get the recording? Because I missed the last one as well.
On YouTube, it's not up yet.
Oh,
I
Okay,
haven't
okay.
put it up yet. So if you go to the YouTube,
Okay,
and I'm also releasing the old ones. I just need to view them all the way through.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it's just like finding an hour and a half and saying, okay, so there was nothing bad on there. Nothing weird happened. So that's all I'm looking for. Is there anything weird going on? So in the background or something, because I have, which you don't see is right off the edge of my screen. People are walking constantly over there. So,
Okay.
Margaret has 5 children and a boatload of grandchildren.
Oh,
So I don't know. How many are there? 7?
seven.
Seven.
Good
Seven.
Irish.
Yes, the Irish German thing. They're that was a good mix. They were alive. So, they married some Italian girls.
Oh, goodness.
We're a little spicy in our family now.
yeah.
No more boring. So
Like fun.
it's fun.
Thank you again, everyone. And if
Well-
you have any questions or anything, please feel free. I think you can go on the website and just send us a note. Or if there's something that you'd like us to try out, we'd be happy to do that. But
Any questions or anything?
any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Hey,
Great.
Thank you very much.
you are
Thanks,
very
both of you.
Thank you. It was great.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
week.
much.
Good
Thank
dinner.
you
Bye.
too.
Too.
It's just us. Okay, hold on.
Did you save the chat? Or do we need to?
No. No, there wasn't anything in there.